What if I told you that Cyberpunk 2077 was actually really, really good now, and has actually always been good?
Cyberpunk!
Now, you might be skeptical because of the initial launch of Cyberpunk was, not great and very, very, it was bad. Tons of bugs, unplayable for most people. Obviously, we don't need to go into all of that. This is not a history of Cyberpunk 2077's failures, but rather this is just going to be me trying to convince you to please try this game and give it a chance and to step into this wonderful, heartbreaking, terrifying, beautiful world, because even with the bugs 3 years ago, it was still a good game at its core. And with Phantom Liberty and Update 2.0, it is definitely all that we had hoped it would be, and perhaps even a little more. I'm someone who played it at launch, actually, surprisingly. Didn't have that many issues, had some, but I still loved the game and the story so much that I was willing to kind of look past a lot of the bugs, and I still was so immersed in this world, and I fell in love with the characters and Night City itself. So much so that I've done a couple different playthroughs, not full playthroughs, but just experimenting with different builds and such. And I really have such a love for this genre and this game in particular, and I'm so glad that I can now fully recommend it, because as of today, as of the recording of this video, Update 2.0 for Cyberpunk 2077 is out, and it's free. And if you don't know what this is, it's a free update that kind of overhauls every aspect of the main game, minus the story, obviously. Can't change that. Some people don't like the story. I really like the story, but that's beside the point. The update overhauls your entire perk system. It adds a ton of new perks, different ways to customize build. You can deflect bullets back and damage enemies with your katana, which is so sick, and I'm definitely going to be doing that. You can jump off motorcycles and attack enemies and slow down time in air. It adds so much more customization for your builds and really allows you to craft in specific areas, which is awesome. The main game didn't really have that. And also, they just have streamlined so much of how the game works. I've like I said, I've done a couple different playthroughs, and even playing a little bit of Update 2.0 today, I immediately noticed a lot more smoothness in the menus, and a lot of the base things you interact with, from your inventory to cyberware, got a whole revamp, and cyberware is completely different now. It's a lot of the same perks and a lot of the same cyberware abilities. However, it's redone in a way that makes it more impactful and feels a lot more integrated into the world, because you have a limit to how much cyberware you can use. Like, your armor is now tied to cyberware and not your clothes, which is great. It makes actual sense. And that means you can wear whatever clothes you want, have whatever fit you want. Night City, be all that Blade Runner vibe. Super sick. And all of this is free. And there's a ton of things I'm missing. There's just so many quality of life. I'm going to throw up some graphics of all of the stuff in 2.0 that's free to the base game. And essentially, now Cyberpunk is fully, I would say, the game that was promised, and a fully functioning game, which is great. It very much has done a No Man's Sky sort of reversal, in my opinion. People still really, really don't trust it, and really hate on CDPR and how the game was released. And I'm not saying to forget that, but I am saying to look at the work that has been done, because it's really impressive how they've managed to turn the game around. So much so that the DLC coming out next week is the only DLC for the game. And honestly, I just want to say props to them for sticking down. They've said they're only going to do one DLC for a while. They're like, hey, this is it. Even if this does really well, we're just doing one and moving on. And because we've gotten the game to a point that we are proud of, I just really admire that. I think that's pretty cool, because they could be like, oh, we're going to do another DLC because it did great, and just kind of push something out, and they're like, no, we just want this really well-crafted experience, which, obviously, I haven't played the DLC yet, because, I didn't sit in code, I'm not that cool, but everything I've seen from the DLC, I've heard it's phenomenal, and even better than the base story, which is kind of crazy to me, because, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people dog on the base story of Cyberpunk, and I get it, it wasn't the most, intricate, but it was incredible. And the main campaign itself wasn't the best part. A lot of the best part were a lot of these side missions and things, but they all tied into the main campaign in a way that I thought was really good, like a lot of Pan Am and Judy storylines, and River even. And that brings me back to why you should play this game, not just because of all the improvements and all of the new things they've added. It's a great game. It's one of the most immersive games I've played because you're in first person and the game looks absolutely gorgeous. The lighting effects in the city is very pretty. It's not perfect. It's still got its issues. It's still got things that aren't the best. But at the core of the game, and this has always been there since the beginning, since launch, the core of the game, I think, is amazing and has a wonderful story about like how to thrive and survive in this crazy cyberpunk future, dark future world. And the story that they do tell is really, really well done. And a lot of people just missed out on that because of the awful launch, which is fair. But now the game is in such, not even just a playable state, it's such a great state that I really wish and I really, really, really want people to hop back into it. Because it's a story that has stuck with me, and a lot of the characters have really stuck with me since I played it 3 years ago, and it's totally worth checking out now. There's a lot of game here. The main story is about 25 hours maybe, but that can be nearly doubled if you're just doing side gigs and exploring the world and not like fast traveling. Another thing they've added is the enhanced police system, which that was kind of promised originally, but is now finally in the game, and you can like pick fights with police and they'll chase you. It's very GTA. It's nothing crazy, but it's in there and it makes the world feel even more alive than it already is. Now again, if you're someone who wrote the game off initially and has still written it off because of the awful launch and said, I'm never touching this game, look, I understand, I get it, but this is a game that is worth your time. I even would argue that it was worth your time initially, and I know that's a take, that's a hot take, okay, I get that. But this game is so incredibly well written, has some of the best voice acting in a game, period. Baldur's Gate 3 is the only thing that I've played recently that really has competed with that. Once you get sucked in, you're in. There have been times I've just walked around Night City for like hours at a time, late at night when it's like rainy outside. I want to just boot up Cyberpunk and just kind of exist in this world, because while it's not the most intricate world at times and it's not detailed in every single corner, there's something about it that just feels so real. And a lot of it is due to, like I said, a lot of the character performances and a lot of the character stories. That's when this game shines the most. Like that in your game, if you like deep, intimate, emotional, character-driven stories, that's what a lot of this game has. It's not the main focus, but it's definitely like a secondary focus. Also, if none of that appeals to you, the game has banger music, such a good soundtrack. If that doesn't appeal to you, but you like anime, it has an anime on Netflix and it's insane. When it came out last year, it actually boosted Cyberpunk's Steam numbers like by a lot because of how good the show was. People were like, oh, I need to give this game a shot. So if all else fails, maybe try and watch the anime if you're into that. With all that said, I know I've made some kind of out there claims about the game even originally when it launched, and you might disagree with me. That's fine. But I think at the end of the day, the game itself, what was there 3 years ago, was great. The story, like the base of the game, was great. Had a ton of issues. Now, those issues removed, plus so much more revamped and redone and added, the game is what it should have been, and even perhaps better than what it was promised, and absolutely deserves to be celebrated, and deserves to be celebrated for the hard work that the developers put into it, and deserve to be like, just play it. Like, give it your time. It's worth it. I 100% fully believe that, and I want people to experience this world that I experienced for hundreds of hours. Well, not hundreds. I have like 120 hours in the game, so over 100 hours. I really want that experience to be experienced by other people because it's absolutely a game and a story worth your time. And I hope that I convinced you even a little bit to give your time to this game. And in the meantime, I'm going to be going to play more Update 2.0, and I'm going to play the DLC next week. And I might have a video on that specifically, spoiler-wise, when it comes out. Because, like I said, I've heard it's really good. Heard it's even better than the main game. So, I might have a little analysis video soon. Look out for that. Let me know if you're going to give Cyberpunk a chance. If I convinced you, if everything you've seen of the update has convinced you, or if you're still on the fence. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. You're super cool. If you enjoyed, be sure to give like a like and subscribe if you want, I suppose. I hope you have a wonderful day, and maybe I'll see you in Night City.